So yeah, I'm going to be present the paper, yes, which car type I'm driving. It's on behalf of the main author, Dong Yao, who couldn't make it to VehicleSec due to visa issues. This is joint work between Shanghai Jiao Tong University, where Dong Yao is a faculty, Columbia University, and the University of Michigan. All right, so the vehicle type gives out a lot of information about the person who's driving it. I mean, obviously, there's different cars of vehicles. There's sedans, there's SUVs, there's pickup trucks. And the information, if an advertiser or a third party knows what car you're driving, they can infer a lot of things about you. So this can be used for targeted advertising. Something about the car type is, for example, a pickup truck is usually more expensive versus a full sedan is also very expensive. A small sedan or a small SUV is usually cheaper. So there are studies that show actually that there is a correlation between the vehicle type you drive and your financial wealth. Another thing is a political tendency. There's literally something called blue cars and red cars. There's a list. People have studied it. What do Republicans drive? What do Democrats drive? If you want to know, you can have a look at here, but usually Republicans tend to have more American cars with bigger engines and bigger body size, versus Democrats choose to stay on the smaller side of cars. So another thing that's getting more and more popular is driver apps, driver analysis apps. This can be Progressive, State Farm, right? They either provide OBD dongles to collect data about you and analyze how you're driving, or what they also do is now you can install their app in your smartphone, and by using the motion sensors in your phone, they actually can figure out if you're a good driver by how you accelerate, how you brake, and if you're steering aggressively, stuff like that. And what we thought is, well, all these driving apps, they already collect and process a lot of data about you. Is there a possibility that they, just by using a smartphone app, by using your motion sensors on your phone, can you derive the vehicle type, which will open a lot of possibilities about getting more information about you? Well, yes, the answer is yes. Otherwise, I wouldn't be standing here. But the thing here is these motion sensors I was talking about. This is a really loophole. This is a big loophole, because if you think about Android, motion sensors, IMU sensors like accelerometer, gyroscope, magnetometer, and all that stuff, these sensors are zero permission. That means that when you install an app with, you have to usually declare permissions in the manifest, but when it comes to these motion sensors, to these IMU sensors, you do not have to, so every app on your phone can basically use these sensors. And now we're going to present a pipeline to use these motion sensors to calculate a vibration pattern of your car, which is unique to every car type. And based on that, derive what car type you're driving. So let's talk a little bit about motion sensors. So usually they're like MEMS chips on your phone, and the gyroscope that we're going to be using in this project can, for example, calculate the angular speed of your moving device by harvesting the Coriolis force. And what we observed is when you have your phone with this MEMS gyroscope inside your car, can be in the cup holder, it can be like fixed somewhere else in the car, you can actually record the vibration patterns of your car pretty accurately. So we have to distinguish between two use cases here. So when we talk about vibration patterns in the car, where do these vibration patterns originate from? Well, obviously, when the car is standing still, it's the idling engine. It's the idling engine, yeah, because the engine is still working between like 600 and 1,000 RPM normally. When the vehicle is moving, well, you still have the engine vibration. It's probably going to vibrate a little bit more like faster than when it's standing, but also the wheels add vibration, and these vibrations get to the body, they propagate to the body, to the chassis of the vehicle, which also vibrates. So we got to analyze these two use cases, when the vehicle is moving and when the vehicle is idling. So when we talk about car types, there's two things we actually want to infer. The first thing is the number of cylinders. We can infer the number of cylinders in an engine when we analyze the idling vehicle. The other thing what we want to analyze is the body type. The body type can be sedan, SUV, pickup truck, right? And with these two information, we can actually infer a lot of like what kind of car the driver is driving. So let's start with analyzing the case of the idling vehicle. So there's different engine types. There's a 4-cylinder, 6-cylinder, 8-cylinder engine. Pickup trucks usually tend to have bigger engines. This is an example of an inline 4-cylinder. So we have like 4 pistons here. I'm not going to go into mechanical details here, what happens, but basically the combustion here in this gasoline engine allows the wheels to rotate. And the engine is the dominant source of the vibration when the car is idling. And you can see it's usually between 600 and 1,000 RPM, revolutions per minute, that the engine is working on when the car is in park. So what we found here is that the combustion frequency, like how fast these pistons are going up and down, is related to, well, the RPM, obviously, but also to the number of cylinders. That's what you see in equation 1. This is called the fundamental frequency also. There is harmonics of this frequency called overtones of the nth order, which are multiples of this harmonic frequency that you can see in equation number 2. There's, a lot of them, but only the first 2 are really strong and actually contribute a lot to the overall vibration pattern. I'm not going to go too much into details with aliasing and so on and so forth. Aliasing is mostly an effect of like the Nyquist sampling theorem. And in total, what we have at the end, equation number 4, is an equation that shows how the combustion frequency is related to the number of cylinders. Okay, so by using this equation, we can actually calculate for different engine cylinder configurations and harmonics what the combustion frequency is going to look like. We also verified it, as you can see in those pictures here, with real-world experiments with different cars with 4, 6, and 8 cylinders. And what we have here is we can infer a decision tree, which actually, if you follow that, you can figure out if your car is a 4-cylinder, 6-cylinder, or an 8-cylinder engine. But basically just capturing some gyroscope data, calculating the spectrogram, and running this analysis. And what I want to say here, this is completely training free. So there's no like machine learning training or no bias when we do that. It's basically just a decision tree that we can infer based on like simple vehicle physics and some signal mathematics. Then the second case is the moving vehicle, right? So when the car is actually, when you're actually driving the car. So as I've said, there's multiple vibration sources like the engine itself or the wheels that propagate to the vehicle chassis, to the frame and so on. This is also called source filter model, which is heavily studied in mechanical engineering and structural engineering, I guess. And so in this case, we also record the vibration pattern, which is basically just gyroscope reading. And here we want to get the resonant frequency, which is basically the natural frequency of the entire vehicle's vibration. And here, I'm not going to go into detail here again due to time limits, but we're using a lot of well-known tools and methods known from speech and speaker recognition in order to process the spectrograms, the power density of our gyroscope, and identify the vehicle type. Here, we're looking at mostly at different cars, different types of body types, so sedans, SUVs, and pickup trucks. So one thing you can see here when we look at such a spectrogram is you can see the formants here again. Like obviously, there's a very dark red formant here, which is the fundamental frequency, the first harmonic, and then there's a couple other formants that you can see up there at around 40 hertz. We have also some low frequency components that are mostly due to maneuvers like steering that we can filter out. But what we can see is like during the driving of the vehicle, the formants stay pretty close. So our goal is actually to use these speaker recognition techniques in order to determine these formants here, which are the resonant frequency and its formants, its harmonics, sorry. So we evaluated this thing with 4 different body types: compact sedan, mid-size sedan, SUV, and pickup truck. We used, I think, a total of 17 vehicles for that, and did a human study experiment with a bunch of folks driving these cars. And we found out that here are our precision recall and F1 numbers for determining what number of cylinders our cars have, if it's a 4, 6, or 8 cylinder engines. So you can see that the numbers are pretty good actually. This is training less. The second evaluation here, when we evaluate the moving vehicles, this is when we actually have some machine learning models that we use in order to classify these formants, these frequency bands. Well, here our overall accuracy over, average all over the vehicles that we use for evaluation is around 85, 86%, which is pretty good too. Well, to conclude, our tool that we dubbed VFI, vehicle fingerprinting, short for vehicle fingerprinting, it exploits the vibration patterns to differentiate vehicle types, and it uses permissionless, zero permission IMU sensors for that. And basically, we analyze it for idling cars and moving cars, so we can derive the number of cylinders and also the body type, which can yield us actually the type of vehicle that the driver is using. I want to thank you, my co-authors at Shanghai Jiao Tong and the University of Michigan for this. And yes, I'm open for questions now. Thank you very much.
How fast was the sampling rate that you were using to look at the accelerometers?
So we use 2 phones for this. I think it's the LG Nexus and like Google Pixel. And the sampling rate of the math sensors was 100 hertz, so we can only get up to 50 hertz of bandwidth. But using this aliasing, we could actually still get performance. So we had some frequency, but it's 100 hertz. I think the maximum supported right now is 200 hertz on modern phones, but that actually really uses a lot of battery and also CPU utilization. If you look into our paper, we actually benchmarked the CPU utilization as well as the battery consumption for running the sensor at 15 hertz, 100 hertz, and at 200 hertz. Obviously with 15 hertz, you're not going to capture a lot, but 200 hertz actually the battery consumption just skyrocketed. So 100 hertz is a good sweet spot. Thank you.
Yes, thanks for the presentation. And my question is, do you consider the pavement conditions or pavement types when you're inferring the moving vehicles? Or will that pavement condition play a role in estimating your vehicle type?
Well, pavement
conditions.
Yeah, so actually the pavement, we consider this in the paper. If you look in the paper, we consider how the pavement is going to affect it while the car is moving. So when the car is idling, the pavement doesn't matter because the car is standing still. When the car is moving, there is actually, I think I can go back here, right? Oh yeah, I can. Now I know what the second button is for. Yeah, I think here you can see actually how the rough pavement looks like, but actually even on the rough pavement, the key formants do not change much. This was one of our key observations when we looked here. Even when the pavement, and most of that stuff was recorded in Michigan. We have horrible roads, so rough pavement is an understatement. It's still it doesn't mess it up.
It's just following up question from his. So given that, I think your paper also mentioned about the more specific road condition alongside with the vehicle. So my question is it possible to distinguish first the vehicle engine type, second, what type of road the vehicle is driving on?
What do you mean? If it's a rough road or if it's a smooth road?
I mean, is say you drive on the U.S. highway, or you drive on the arterial or something like that.
So I'm not a pavement expert. Oh, you mean so I'm not a pavement expert. You mean there's a difference in pavement when it comes to highway?
Like a road condition.
Road condition. Well, if you use GPS and you see that your GPS coordinates are in Michigan, you can assume it's bad. Sorry, I had to say that. I love Michigan, but. I don't think we can do it because something happened here. Oh, it's me. Okay. Well, again, as I've said, the pavement, the type of pavement does not really affect the formants. It still is very robust to it, which is a good thing for us. So I'm not 100% sure if you can do it, but it might be worth looking into. We can share the code with you if you want to.
Thank you. My question is, it's not a kind of question, but I guess there can be another application. I purchased a GPS map, and the seller wants me only use it in my car. I don't want that GPS to be installed on some other cars. In that case, I maybe use your algorithm algorithm on the GPS so that I know the GPS is installed in the right car, not some resell the GPS. It's not possible. Do you think that's possible?
I'm not sure if I understand your question correctly. I think you got to move on, right? So is it okay if we discuss this offline? Because I